But we're actually going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers first. There's reports that he may want to be traded. He does not seem like he wants to play with Green Bay. There's talks that he may even retire. He wants to be the full-time host of Jeopardy. Going into Thursday night, the draft, there's so many possibilities what was going to happen. I don't think anybody expected the top two storylines heading into draft night would be Aaron Rodgers could potentially be the full-time host of Jeopardy, and Tim Tebow could be coming out of retirement. What are your thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers situation?
First off, I'm going to say this. I think the Tebow rumors are just total BS. It's just Urban doing him a favor, obviously, as college coach. But with Aaron, it was a bombshell. This dropped at 3:30 on Thursday. It's not like it was Monday or Tuesday when this came out. No, this came out a few hours before. It's chaos for 32 teams. I'm sorry. If you have your picks in place, you're planning for 3 days of chaos. But for this news to come out so quickly, I think it's just it was a giant fuck you to Gutekunst and Murphy and all that stuff. Meanwhile, you got him now frustrated. He doesn't know where to go. I'm going to come out and say this, though. I think he kind of sewered himself to wait and do this. I think if he truly wanted out, he should have done it when all that comments and stuff came out after they lost to Tampa in the NFC Championship game. That, for me, I think was – because, look, if he did that, he would have been better off getting a suitor. Teams like New England or San Francisco, Denver, all these teams that were in the quarterback market would have called and probably given up a great package. Like we saw what Miami gave up to move up. San Francisco gave up to Miami to move up in the draft. What's the word I'm looking for? This is a similar situation. Meanwhile, now a lot of teams have made their beds, and all of a sudden it's just going to be, hey, boom, here's Aaron Rodgers 4 months before the season starts.
Yeah, if you're Rodgers, I don't think there's a worse possible time this news come out 3 hours before the draft. I mean, this, like you said, would have been perfect, right around free agency because the Packers could have had so much time to prepare for a trade. This is just really surprising to me. Honestly, I don't see him retiring. I don't see him being traded. And, it really does not look like he's going to play for the Packers. I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't think he'll retire because if we're going to look back 5-10 years from now, one of the best quarterbacks of all time to retire and potentially be a full-time host of Jeopardy, that's just really weird. You think of Megatron retiring in his prime, Marshawn Lynch, Jim Brown, Luke Kuechly, so many guys. I mean, you can kind of add. I know Rodgers is way older than them when they retired, but you can also kind of add Rodgers to that category because he just won the MVP last season. It's very, very interesting. I really don't know what's going to happen. But if you had to maybe pick a trade suitor for Rodgers, who do you think it would be?
The more I think about it, the only two teams I could see it being potentially are the Raiders or the Broncos, because I don't think that it's like Russell Wilson, how there was rumors of they weren't going to trade him in the same conference. I think if he's going, it's one of those two, and Houston's not going to want to give up what it's going to take to get him. Denver already has a solid offense with, let's be honest, mediocre quarterbacks. And then Vegas is just John Gruden's horny for all quarterbacks. I know that sounds super fucking bizarre, but Gruden is, if you look at his quarterback rooms from when he was at the Bucs back in 2003, Chris Sims talks about it all the time, saying he just loves bringing in new guys. But the thing with that is, though, I think he's got Derek Carr wired to run the offense that he wants to run. So it's weird. But besides that, I can't think of any other teams that will be rushing at the bit to get a quarterback. Obviously, Rodgers is one of the best of all time, but when you think about it, those are the only two teams where you're yeah, they can make a change, because if you look at it, every team in the NFC North has their guy. AFC South, everyone has their guy. AFC East, everyone has their guy. There's only those two teams out west, because obviously the Chargers of Herbert and the Chiefs, well, there's a kid that wears 15 that's going to be making $500 million starting next year.
I mean, there's a couple of teams. I think the Broncos are 100% easily the first team that comes to mind. Before the Deshaun Watson, all those allegations came up, originally I said Washington would be a good fit. When I was really looking at it, I think Denver would have been a perfect fit for Watson, but obviously that's not going to happen now. But I mean, you look at Denver, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, Albert O, their tight end, Melvin Gordon. They drafted Javonte Williams from North Carolina, Von Miller on defense, and I'm coming off a season-ending injury. Bradley Chubb, Justin Simmons, they have some great pieces.
Kyle Fuller.
Kyle Fuller, Patrick Surtain. I think Denver, I picked them to be phenomenal last season. I picked them to be an 11-win team. Obviously that did not happen. But that was kind of my logic going into because they have a way better roster than anybody thinks. And the interesting thing about Rodgers being traded is that when quarterbacks are traded, top-tier quarterback, they're often traded for a lesser quarterback. There's kind of a similar situation with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. But with the Packers, if you trade Rodgers, you're not going to get a quarterback in return because you have Jordan Love, who's a major question mark, who's never started the game before. Another team I think is a major, major dark horse in this is New York Giants. They have 2 first-round picks next season. If Daniel Jones sucks, he's 8-18 as a starter, which is actually worse than Drew Lock, who could end up losing his job to Bridgewater in Denver. They had 2 first-round picks. They have the pieces: Galladay, Sharp, Evan Ingram. They drafted Kadarius Toney. I would not be shocked if the New York Giants are in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes
here's the
being
thing.
traded.
Here's the thing, though, with the New York Giants. They're a great team for it, sure, but I think, look, they're hoping. I think they're literally pushing their chips all to the table with Jones. I think maybe if it's a next offseason question, they would do it. I don't think now. I think, you know what? They want Daniel Jones to excel and progress the way Josh Allen did this year, like how they went out and got Stephon Diggs for him this year. They already had all their weapons. They added Kyle Rudolph from Minnesota. They added Kenny Galladay in free agency. Drafted Kadarius Toney, like you said. They're going to get Saquon Barkley back off the ACL, which early hot take prediction will win comeback of the year and potentially offensive player of the year, in my opinion. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. If Evan Ingram can, learn how to catch a ball properly, this team has potential. It's just riding all on their shoulders. I don't think they want to give up on Jones so soon because the NFL mold now is win with a rookie quarterback. And also, too, this is bad for Green Bay because it fucks them salary cap-wise. Like, if they trade him before June 1, I think it's $33 million they got to take as a hit. And if it's after June 2nd, it's like only 14, but still, it's rough waters ahead if you're a cheesehead.
I know this does not make any sense, especially what they did in the first round. And I know you're a Patriots fan, but would you still be for Rodgers or you on the Matt Jones train?
You know what? I was always critical of, like, if this was back in March before we signed Cam, yeah, absolutely, I would be on board with it. But we drafted Mac. We have Cam for a year at little to nothing. And it's like the whole Jimmy Garoppolo rumors of how, we could get him, but then it screws us for the salary cap. The Patriots were in a great position going into the offseason with the salary cap, having $60+ million to spend. I think they're still like 15 or 14 open. They're not in a position to do it. It would be great, but it's just from a salary cap realistic perspective, you'd have to get rid of some of the key pieces on the defense, like a Dante Hightower and someone else. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to part with that. I know it sounds crazy because Aaron Rodgers is this great quarterback, but it's just that's the way. And also, too, the one thing I want to say is when John Lynch is calling to trade the night before the draft, like, I feel like John Lynch is your friend that's too honest about everything. Like, if you ask them about something, they're going to give you your honest opinion. It may sound blunt and awful. That's John Lynch, though. But as for the Patriots thing, like, I would love for it, but from a salary cap perspective and the fact that, you know what, I'm on the Mac Jones train and I want to see him develop, I'm fine with Cam and Mac. Because Mac spelled backwards is Cam.